Black Circle says the ladies on the top floor. Had to be the top floor. Up to 5 armed hostiles, no guns on this op. Find the lady, get her home in one piece. Had to be the top floor. Today on the Comic Book Report, Declan Shalvey's Old Dog Redact One. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'll be reviewing an Image Comics trade paperback. That's right, we're looking at Old Dog by Declan Shalvey. This sci-fi espionage thriller was a ton of fun and I can't wait to talk about it today. Before we do though, I want to shout out the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I highly encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link for it in this video's description, and if you see anything there you like, you can use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note, if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's comic book review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written and illustrated by Declan Shalvey. The comics in this volume were first published by Image Comics beginning in 2022. The volume itself collects Old Dog Redact One, issues 1 through 6, and the short story Dead Drop from Image 30th Anniversary Anthology issue 1. And finally, this is a standard size trade paperback edition with glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 136 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first look at today's trade paperback collection from Image Comics. As you can see here, we have the stylized Old Dog title here, the creator Declan Shalvey, and a great little picture of the main character there gracing the bottom. Overall, a pretty straightforward trade paperback design here, no real bells and whistles, but a pretty sturdy construction like a lot of the other Image trades I have in the collection. The spine as well is similarly straightforward, nothing too twisty-turny here, just all pretty much what I've come to expect. Color scheme is a lot of black, white, and red, which is nice to see throughout. It really definitely goes for its main colors, and I think it looks pretty striking on the bookcase. And then we have the back of the collection with a shout out from another comic book writer, a blurb about the book, pricing information, what it collects, things like that. We retain a similar color scheme as the rest of the trade paperback cover. Like I said, no real bells or whistles here, just a straightforward design from Image. No real complaints here though. Looks like a really nice trade. Okay, and now for all you prospective collectors out there, a quick look at the binding for this paperback. Like I said, it's a glued binding, and mine is a bit stiff. The pages don't lay down as flat as I maybe hope, and this is actually after reading it through one time. Hopefully it'll soften a bit, and I can pull it apart a bit more. Little gutter loss here, but nothing too critical. Overall, still pretty well made. Okay, and with that out of the way, we can go ahead and jump into the collection proper. We have some of the front matter from the book, things about the creator, publishing information, things like that, and then we jump right into that Dead Drop short story that just jumps us right into the world of Old Dog. So for this series, we follow the main character, Jack Lynch, who is kind of an operative for a CIA-like agency known as Black Circle. I believe he was maybe once part of the CIA or some other kind of black ops organization. It's really kind of a little shady and kind of mysterious. This is a definite espionage thriller that has little glimmerings of science fiction and actually even body horror at moments, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So we jump right into the action. We have our main character of Jack on this mission. He has to basically infiltrate a compound that has a bunch of armed guards. He's not allowed to carry guns himself, and he's trying to liberate who we think is kind of a hostage character. That is the scope of his mission. Now we can see from Jack's Jack's appearance that he is an aged man, maybe in his early 60s if I had to guess, but he kicks a ton of butt. We have a lot of really visceral and intense action sequences. I will say that this is probably more for the adult reader in mind, just from the amount of gore and blood that are included in the collection. There are no other explicit materials in this book outside of the violence and actually some profanity. But anyway, we have him kind of storming this compound. He has another agent with him that we come to find out is actually his daughter, and the two of them are often paired up with this agency, the Black Circle. Now, throughout this book, and as we get into the issues proper, we start to get backstory for this character. I will say that this storyline does juggle a couple different timelines. We have flashbacks throughout it, and we have also this kind of feel of mystery. You know, we're not supposed to know all of the details. Like a lot of other great espionage works in fiction, we have a lot of details left out. We don't really know all the backstory here, and as the reader and the point of view and what we're given here in these issues, we kind of begin to sort of connect the dots as we go. But anyway, when we're going through it, we find out that Jack was in some kind of incident maybe 6 to 8 years ago. He was in a coma and he woke up changed. He has the ability to change his appearance to his younger self, all the way up to his more ragged, aged appearance. He always has this kind of scar going across his face. He's also very strong. He has some vitality, certainly. He seems to heal up quite quickly. He's immune to a lot of the different combat scenarios he seems to encounter. And it's all after this incident that happens. He basically storms a lab after he's basically one of the kind of intel guys in a van. These other operatives go in the field and he's sort of sidelined. Well, when he doesn't hear back, he goes into the field. He finds his kind of dying comrades. He breaks into this lab and there's an explosion. This leads to presumably the coma and his abilities. And again, all of this is kind of revealed as we go through little snapshots and flashbacks. We have him recruited into the Black Circle as well, and we have him doing these missions. But again, exactly the nature of these missions and even the agency in general is kind of clouded in mystery. There's points where you think they're trying to do noble work, and yet the operatives have different objectives. Like Jack does a lot of the legwork, but then his daughter or other operatives have secondary missions that seem to undo some of the things that he's trying to do, and it all starts to feel a bit shady. At the same time, he tags up with some of his old contacts to research the organization, as he believes that there are a bit of things that need answering here. Along the way, we also get a little bit more of a clear view of the dysfunction in this father-daughter relationship. We see a lot of the hurt feelings the daughter has, seeming like the father has abandoned her as a child to do his missions or whatever. The father is clearly trying to reconcile, and the daughter is left kind of mystified and shocked by some of the feelings she has to just address and encounter. I'll leave out some of the stuff here, as there's more to this trade paperback than even what I'm speaking to here. Suffice it to say, this narrative has a lot of fun twists and turns. One of my favorite issues in this collection has to do with him reuniting with an old paramour in Russia who has aged. She approaches her as the younger version of himself. She believes that he has died because of her betrayal, and we have this kind of beautiful and haunting, tragic scene between what we believe were old lovers. It's just really beautifully done, and Declan choosing to do this issue in the snow and kind of the sharp, crisp lines, it's just really a beautiful piece of work to encounter. Again, I will say Declan Shalvey is the both artist and writer for this series. I first read, I believe, some of his Moon Knight run he did with Warren Ellis, just a little bit of it, and I saw his artwork on that, but to see him write and illustrate, this is my first time seeing that, and it's pretty striking. I really like it. If you're a fan of spy fiction, like I said, I think there's a lot to love here. Now, one other thing I do want to talk about with this collection, and this is going full-on spoilers, so again, spoiler warning for the last issue or two of the collection here. We basically come to find out what the scar on his face is all about, and we get a little bit more about what is going on with our main character of Jack. We find out that he has some kind of other entity, or maybe he is another entity, or he has something ongoing inside of him, where he's sort of this I wouldn't say disembodied, but he's kind of this monstrous amalgam red, tissuey, gross creature that just gets compact back into the body of the old Jack Lynch here. And this all seemed to happen around the time of the lab explosion, and he isn't even aware that this is inside him until things kind of go awry during an interrogation. This is where that body horror element comes in, and for me, this is where I was absolutely riveted to the page. I already like the espionage genre and feel to this whole book, the moody, broody, mysterious aspects I got throughout a lot of the reading. The action sequences were all great, the dialogue was fun and just pitch perfect for the whole vibe of this book. And yet I began to really enjoy the science fiction elements that began to be introduced with, the laboratory explosion, some of the tech, some of the missions. But it's really once we got to the end when we also added this weird body horror layer and an implication that there might be kind of a multiverse. And again, I won't spoil too much of that. And honestly, there's not a ton in this collection about it, except for the very end where we are just trying to question who this guy is. Is he really this girl's father? Is he a different version of it? What is actually going on here? And honestly, at the end of this collection, we have more questions than answers, but this is absolutely a great first chapter in what I hope is a long-running series, because there's a lot here to love. The art is striking, the characters are compelling, and the mix of genres I just think is handled so well. I was really gripped by this book. It was hard to put down, honestly. The pacing was pretty breakneck, like good thrillers are, and overall, like I said, I just really like the intrigue inherent at the core of this series. Now, I do want to spend a minute talking more directly about the art we get here from Declan Shalvey. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I was more familiar with him as an artist first, but it's really fun to see him do double duty here. I really like when creators do this. There are some that do both roles, and I always think that it adds a different layer to a given work. I can think of Cliff Chiang's Catwoman Lonely City, for example. He was an artist I first saw in the Wonder Woman run in the New 52 with Brian Azzarello, as well as his art in Paper Girls from Image Comics with, I believe, Brian K. Vaughan, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I've read some of that. But seeing him do double duty in Catwoman Lonely City, it was just really cool to see what he brought to the table when he did all of the creative work in one, soup to nuts, and we get a very similar feel here in Old Dog. Yes, he did have some help with, I believe, the lettering, but all the other illustrative work and writing is all Declan Shalvey, and I really like it. I think that there's a really great melding of both the art and the written word, and everything just flows so seamlessly to just really do the storytelling here, and I really loved it. It honestly makes me want to seek out some other works by Declan Shalvey, and honestly, in the comments, if you have some, please recommend. I see he has a series called Time Before Time that caught my interest. I think it's another Image Comics series. I don't know much at all about that. If you've read that, let me know, or any other runs. Like I said, I read a little bit of the Warren Ellis and Shalvey Moon Knight run, but that's really it that I'm aware of. Maybe an issue. I think he did an annual for Marvel 2-in-1 with Chip Zdarsky, that Fantastic Four book, which I also liked. But yeah, I'm just really interested. I think that this was really, really solid, and as I said, I had a blast with it. I do really favor storylines that have that kind of mysterious intrigue in it. I like books like Morning Glory from Nick Spencer and Joe Yzma, and this was really fun, all wrapped up inside an espionage thriller, and again, with sci-fi and body horror mixed in, it's just a really fun book. Not really much in the way of extras, but that is Old Dog Redact One, the trade paperback. Now all that's left is to give this a grade. For a very fun spy adventure that melds so many different genres so seamlessly, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Declan Shalvey's Old Dog Redact One, the paperback edition, a B. This is definitely a great first outing for what I hope is a fruitful franchise moving forward. I'm definitely engaged in the characters and the storytelling. The art is pretty breathtaking throughout, and personally, I've seen enough here to try to follow this series moving forward. I hope we get subsequent volumes. I know I'll keep an eye out for it, but that's been Old Dog. Let me know if you've read this title or if you've read other works by Declan Shalvey you could recommend. I'd be very curious for that in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching as I review another kind of indie book. It's a little bit off the beaten path from my normal Marvel DC fare, but I hope you've enjoyed the ride. Let me know about that in the comments as well, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, comment, and maybe check out another video on your way out. Thanks everyone, bye.